Hi. Samarkand, the third on population, the city of Uzbekistan, the administrative center of the Samarkand region. Wilayat. The total area of the territory of the city is 123.82 km. The population as of October 1, 2021 was 559.4 thousand inhabitants. In 2022 there will be an expansion of territory of the city and increase in his population at the expense of suburbs. The city is located at the height about 720 meters above sea level. The historic center of the city, the area and Registan ensemble. In 2001 the city and its historical, architectural and archaeological sites were entered in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List under the name, Samarkand, the intersection of cultures. Samarkand, one of the most ancient cities of the world, founded according to archaeological data, in the middle of the 8th century BB. Ancient Markanda. The capital of the state of Timurdav, it became the first capital of the Soviet Uzbekistan in 1924. More than 2 millennia the city was key point on the Great Silk Way between China and Europe and also one of the main centers of science of the medieval East. In the 14th century there was the capital of the Empire of Tamerlana and a dynasty Timurdav. The vast majority of architectural masterpieces of the city was constructed during this era and during an era of the Uzbek dynasty Jananadav. Ashtarkanadav. It was the period of the highest development of Samarkand. In 1925-1930 Samarkand was the capital of the Uzbek Sur. It agrees one of versions, the name Samarkand goes back to the Sud Surg and there is from words Asmara, a stone or rock, and an edging, a fort to the city. The city in antique literature is known also as Markanda. Unwritten sources Samarkand comes from Turkic Semiskent that means the rich/corpulent settlement. Rich/corpulent Kent, the city. Medieval Chinese sources report about it, naming Samarkand by Simi Khan and explaining that it means the corpulent city. This same version was supported by the scientist encyclopedist Abu Ray Khan al-Biruni. The Armenian chronicler of the 13th century Sumbat reported that Samarkand means the fat city or the corpulent city. His Spanish ambassador to Tamerlane's yard Rui González de Clavijo, famous for the description of the travel, writes about Samarkand, but stipulates that his real name, Simskint, that the rich settlement means. The famous Samarkand historian, the local historian and the scientist Abu Tagar Qaza Samarkandi, living in the 19th century, provides 5 versions of origin in the well-known book, Samariya, in Persian, devoted to Samarkand and etymology of the name of the city. In the first version of origin of the name of the city, Abu Dagar Qaza Samarkandi refers to its certain historical book, Burghani Gate, where it is told that in the ancient time in the present territory of the city a certain person by the name of Tamir settled and creates the settlement where people from vicinities begin to move. Subsequently the city is called in his honor Samarkandi, and through a large number of time the name gradually gets the Samarkand form. Especially after the Arab conquest of Central Asia. This version of the name finally is fixed in the country. In the titled version of origin of the name of the city Abu Dhabi Baza Samarkand refers to a certain historical book, Masalid el Mamalit, where it is told that a certain Khan by the name of Samarkand from the regions of Fergana and Kashgar attacks the city by means of undermining under external defensive walls and lays the city and destroys its walls.
After that the city becomes known as Samar. That is, as undermining Samara literally can be translated as Samardak. The third version is close to the second.
Abu Bakr Baza Samarkand refers to a certain book, this time Tarija Dabari, where it is said that a certain Khan by the name of Samar with the army comes to the present territory of the city and creates the settlement.
To the new settlement moves to live a certain Turkic tribe in Ejing, and after the Arab gain the city receives the name Samarkand. The fourth version is also close to the second and third. Its time Abu Bakr Baza Samarkand refers to a certain book, Haftikli, where it is said that one of Malik from Yemen by the name of Samar destroys city walls, and after arrival of Arabs the city began to be called Samarkand. A little differently the last, fifth version of Abu Bakr Qadi Samarkandi looks. On the place of the city there was a spring which was called Samar. Subsequently around the spring people settle, and there is a city which called Samarkand, that is the city with the spring. History. Reconstruction of a view of the ancient city of Afrasiab which was on the northern outskirts of Samarkand.
Carry fragmentary skulls from the Samarkand parking to the top paleo. And occupation layers of the Samarkand parking Akasni spots around which the main activity of people of an era of late paleo concentrated are found.
Samarkand, one of the most ancient existing cities of the world, founded in the 8th century BB. Thus, Samarkand is an age mate of Rome and Nanjing. During the first decades of existence of Samarkand began to hold the first Olympic Games in ancient Greece. Against the background of Phoenician writing there is an emergence of the Greek alphabet. During the era of the first centuries of existence of Samarkand in Central Asia there are ancient states and civilizations, such as Sogdiana, Bactria, Khwarezmia. In antique history Samarkand is known as the capital of the most ancient state Sogdiana described in the sacred book of Zoroastrianism, Avesti. Is for the first time mentioned under the name of Markanda, in which was used 5th Kuzi Ruf Arian, by Strabo and other biographers of Alexander of Macedon, who in 329 BB conquered Samarkand, which was by this time well developed and strengthened city compositions of the Roman and Greek historians. Remarkable event is battle at Politamet, Zarafshan River of Samarkand. Thence Potamon for the first time for a 7-year military campaign of Alexander of Macedon could crush troops of his commanders Mendem, Karen and Andromache. Thanks to the skillful management of Potamina and the help of nomads the revolt created serious threat for Greeks. In the 4-5 centuries Samarkand was under the power of Hyanit and Kidarit. At the beginning of the 6th century it was taken by Ephthalita and it is included in their empire where also Bactria entered. In 567-658 years Samarkand, being the center of Sogdiana, I was depending on Turkic and West Turkic Khaganates. In the period of the governor of the Western Turkic Khaganate Tunyabu Kagan, 618-630. With the governor of Samarkand the related relations were established. Tunyabu Kagan gave for him the daughter. The Samarkand possession, and in Panjakant, next to Samarkand, was the most important Asad. At the end of the beginning of the 8th centuries, a Turek Chakinshir Bilge governed. According to the encyclopedist of the 12th century Nazmhel Abu Hafs's Dina Nasafi, Saud-Daguruk had Turkic roots.
A Turek of Samarkand adhered to ethnic religious representations that it is visible on Turkic burial with a horse in the territory of the city of Samarkand.
At the end of the middle of the 7th centuries in Saud, the Turkic kaftans everywhere extend that is noticeable in Afrasiab's painting. During this period, merge of Turkic peoples and Saud diets amplified. According to the marriage contract of April 27, 711, marriage between the Turkmen at Tejin and a Saudi Ankadagganchi was fixed.
The most numerous group of figures on the western wall of Afrasiab's painting of the 7th century represents the image a Turek.
Close Turco-Sud ties promoted loans from Turkic language in Sud and vice versa. Loans from Turkic language occur in the Sud texts of Mugski documents. Ituku, to send embassy. Bedas, carving, ornament and another.
In 712 Samarkand was captured by the Arab conquerors led by Qutb ibn Muslim.
At the end of the same year in Saugda there were Turkic groups of Bilge Kagan and Kul of Tejin trying to assist Samarkandids in fight against Arabs.
At the end of the 740th years in the Arab Caliphate there is a movement dissatisfied with the power Umayyad of whom the commander Abu Muslim who became after the revolt victory the deputy of Khorasan and Transoxiana.
755. Headed. He chose as the resident Samarkand.
Construction of many kilometers defensive wall around the city and the palace is connected with his name. In 776-783 years Samarkand was in the center of a revolt of Mukana.
In 806-810 years in the city there was a revolt of Rafi ibn Laysa in which suppression participated Samanida, for what the Caliph granted them the power in Transoxiana. In 875 the state of Samanidav which was ruled by a Persia-Zichni dynasty Samanidav was formed. The Samanidski state was a vassal of the Arab Caliphate. Right after his education by the capital Samarkand which was it up to 892 years was chosen. During this time in Samarkand Noah ibn Asad, Ahmad ibn Asad and Nasr ibn Asad. Ismail Samani's brother. Governing in Bukhara governed. In 892 Bukhara became the capital of the huge state which occupied Transoxiana and Big Khorasan, but Samarkand all the same remained one of the main towns of this state, along with Mashhad, Herat, Balkhi, Kurganzi, Merv, Nakshap, Nishapur, Shakrasibs and Shash. In the 10th century among large Samanidsky dignitaries, owners of destinies, persons of Turkic origin were generally presented. The geographer Ibn Hawqal gives the following characteristic to Samarkandids. Residents are considered as beautiful and differ in excessiveness in generosity, expenses and cares of themselves in what they surpass the majority of the cities of Khorasan, so it exhausted their means. Samarkand, the center of distinguished people of Transoxiana.
Ibn Hawqal provides names of gate of Samarkand which there was 4.
Chinese. East. Nabakarsky. Western. Bukhara. Northern. And Big. Southern. He also mentions external gate of the city. Adavat is Bast, Sakashin, Varsanin, Gadgets, Kukik, Rivdid and Farakshid, Afshina.
During board of a dynasty Samanid the science and culture developed, Transoxiana became one of the centers of the Persian culture and Islam.
Samanida in every possible way contributed to the development of science, Persian poetry, architecture and extended the culture to the neighboring regions, coming into contacts including with the states of Europe.
Now in Samarkand any of the buildings built during the period Samanid didn't remain because of the Mongolian invasion.
There were Islamic theologians famous in due time. For example Abu Nazar Samarkandi, Abu Lays Samarkandi and Abu Bakr of Samarkandi. During domination Samanid lived and the famous Persian poet Ferdowsi created. In Samarkand such Persian poets as Rudaki, the Shahid Balkhi, Abu Shaka Balkhi spent the different periods of the life to the period Samanid. Also according to some information, the birthplace is challenged by Tus and Bak. Other Persian poet Dakiki was born in that era in Samarkand. Samarkand was visited by such famous philosopher and the scientist as Al-Farabi. After falling of the state of Samanid at the end of the 900 years he was succeeded by the state of Karakanid where the Turkic dynasty Karakanid governed. After the state of Karakanid broke up into two parts, Samarkand was included into the West Karakanidski Khaganate and in 1040, 1212 was his capital. Ibrahim Tamgachan 1040-1068 was the founder of the Western Karakanidski Khaganate. He for the first time built madrasa in Samarkand to public funds and kept cultural development in the region. At him in Samarkand were founded public hospital and madrasa where training and in medicine was conducted. At hospital there was an outpatient clinic where the patients who weren't needing hospital treatment received medical care.
Medical matter in hospital of Samarkand was at quite high level.
Ibrahim Buratakin elected the capital of Samarkand.
As sources testify, the period of his board is characterized by a rise in economic and cultural life of the country.
Ibrahim the Tangat Khan ruthlessly fought against corruption and crime in the state. He established strict control of food prices in the markets of the country. To his politician his son Shams of Labama continued. 1068-1080 Haizhan 1080-1087 was a successor Shams of Labama of Mulk. Karakanida constructed a number of grandiose architectural constructions in Samarkand and Bukhara. But unlike Bukhara where up to now constructions of times Karakanid remained. For example, a minaret Kalin. In Samarkand there was only a minaret in the Shakizinda complex. The others were destroyed by Chingisan.
The most known construction Karakanid in Samarkand was the madrasa of 1040 Ibrahim ibn Nasr Tabakhana and also the big palace of Ibrahim Hussein.
1178-1202, which according to historical data was completely decorated with painting. One of state languages of the West Karakanidski Khaganate was Persian.
During an era of board Karakanid to Samarkand to the yard of a Karakanid of Shams al-Mulk from Nishapur was invited Omar Khayyam.
Along with Balkh's Madrasa and Bukhara, Omar Khayyam studied also in one of Madrasa of Samarkand. In Samarkand he wrote the main work on algebra.
During an era Karakanadav lived in Samarkand, the outstanding Central Asian thinker, the erudite philosopher, the theologian, the Islamic lawyer Fiqh Burhanuddin Amarjinani.
1123–1197. At court of Karakanad in Samarkand there was a scientific and literary center of Transoxiana. The historian Majid Haldain Zesukakoti, which in Samarkand wrote A Story of Turkestan, in which dynasty history Karakanadav was stated, was one of the famous scientists. Karakanadav in Samarkand was the brightest monument of an era, the Palace Ibrahim ibn 1178–1202, who was constructed in a citadel in the 12th century. At excavation, fragments of monumental painting were found. On east wall, the Turkic soldier dressed in a yellow kaftan and holding onions was represented. Here horses, hunting dogs, birds and Pripodobny women were represented. After final falling of the Karakanidski state, West Karakanidski and East Karakanidski Khaganates, Samarkand was a part of Khwarezm, which in the scientific environment is better known as the state of Khorramshahr. From the moment of emergence of this state in 1097 until 1220 the capital was Gurgantz. Subsequently this state extended on the south and the east and occupied all Transoxiana, Khorasan and all rest of present Iran. State language was Persian, in spite of the fact that the Turkic dynasty Anishtijanadav governed the state.
In 1212 the Shah of Khwarezm Alauddin Muhammad II suppressed a revolt of a Karakanadav Usman in Samarkand and finalized the power.
In 1221 the state of Khwarezm was broken as a result of large-scale invasion of Mongols led by Genghis Khan.
During an era of existence of the state of Khorramshahr, Samarkand continued to remain one of the most important cities of the state and the Muslim world of the time. In the city a number of buildings was built. In addition, constructions of an era Karakanadav and earlier periods weren't destroyed yet.
In recent years existence of the state of Khorramshahr, large-scale Mongolian invasion on the west gained steam. At once to the west from then still the small Mongolian Empire there was Central Asia, and the state of Khorramshahr became one of the first targets of Mongols led by Genghis Khan. In 1220 Mongols with Genghis Khan attacked Samarkand. The city was besieged by Mongols 3 days. As the historian Ibn al-Asir wrote, for the 4th day they announced in the city that all population left to them, and if someone slows down with it, we'll kill him. To them there were all men, women and children, and they made with them the same, as with residents of Bukhara, made robberies, murders, stealing and bondage and all excesses. Having entered the city, they plundered it and burned the cathedral mosque. They raped girls and subjected people to all tortures, demanding money. They killed those someone didn't suit for stealing and bondage. Samarkand was completely ruined. During invasion of Mongols, almost all constructions and architectural masterpieces constructed during an era Samanadav, Karakanadav and Khorramshahr were destroyed. By 1223 the Mongolian Empire occupied all east part of the state of Khorramshahr. In 1365 in Samarkand the Serbidarsky revolt under leadership of Maulana Zaid, Abu Bakr Kalevi and Hurdik Bukhari broke up. At the time of Timur, Tamerlanes. Government and Timurdav. 1370–1499. Samarkand was the capital of his empire. The vast majority of the existing nowadays architectural masterpieces of the city was constructed during this era. It was the period of the highest development of Samarkand. Timur jealously cared for prosperity of the capital, which I wanted to see the capital of the world. The craft and trade developed in many respects at the expense of violently driven masters from the one countries. In the city, majestic palaces, mosques, Muslim schools, madrasa, tombs were built. Buildings of Samarkand were under construction as the monuments glorifying the state and its creator, from here huge scales and luxury of furniture. To emphasize greatness of the capital, Timur gave neighboring settlements names of the largest cities of the east: Naidad, Shiraz, Damascus, Miz. He sought to bring together prominent poets, musicians, scientists from the different countries. In 1371 Timur began restoration of the destroyed fortress of Samarkand, defensive walls of Shikristan with 6 gates. Sheikh Said Hakanan, Firuza, Suzangaran, Karazgak and Chorsu. In an arch 2 4-story buildings were built. And in the state treasury, workshops and prison were located. And Bustansere, in whom the residence of the emir was located. Timur made Samarkand one of the centers of trade in Central Asia. As the traveler Kliviko writes, in Samarkand the goods brought from China, India, Tatarstan, Bastaya Kipchak, and other places, and also from the richest kingdom of Samarkand annually are on sale. As in the city there were no special ranks where it would be convenient to trade, Timurback ordered to lay through the city the street on which both sides there would be benches and tents for sale of goods. Timur paid very much attention to development of Islamic culture and improvement of places sacred for the Muslim. In Mausoleum signs shows he suited tombs over graves of the relatives. According to instructions of one of wives who was called Fogavan Loska the Mosque, monastery of dervishes, a tomb and chartag were built there. Rakabad, where Kanedin Sogardzi's tomb. Khatbi, a tomb sheikh of Hajj of Nuruddin Baser. And Gur Mir, a family tomb of a sort of Timurid, were constructed. Also in Samarkand he built many baths, mosques, madrasa, monasteries of dervishes, caravanserai. During 1378–1404 in Samarkand and nearby lands 14 gardens were grown. Bugs of a Dikish, bugs Shamat, Bulda bugs of a Dikanam, bugs to an Ottoman of a Karach and bugs. In each of these gardens there were a palace and fountains. The historian mentions Hafizi Abra in the work Samarkand. He writes that, built earlier from clay, Samarkand was reconstructed, having built buildings from a stone. But complexes of Timur were open for ordinary citizens who spent days of rest there. Any of these palaces didn't remain up to now. In the field of science and education, the law, medicine, divinity, mathematics, astronomy, history, philosophy, musicology, literature and science about versification gained distribution. Jalaluddin Ahmad of Labama Khwarezmi was a prominent theologian at the time. Great progress in astrology was made by Maulana Ahmad, and in jurisprudence, Abdul Malik, Isamuddin and Sheikh Shamsuddin Muhammad Duasari. In musicology, Abdulgadir Maraghi, the father and the son Safi Adin and Ardashir Changi. In painting, Abdulkadir Baghdadi and the feast Ahmad Bagashamoli. In philosophy, Saduddin Taftatani and Ali al-Durashani. In the history, Nizamuddin Shami and Tuhafizi Abaib. In 1399-1404 in Samarkand the cathedral mosque and madrasa opposite to her built. The mosque received Bibi Hanum's name later. In translation from Turkic, Madam Grandmother. Samarkand is located on the plain and surrounded with an earth shaft and very deep ditches. Many houses, adjoining it from the different parties as suburbs are in the country built. All city is surrounded with gardens and vineyards. In these country gardens there are a lot of big and well-known constructions, and the senior timber means has palaces and cellars there. The senior very much wanted to glorify the city and when won any lands, from everywhere brought people that they inhabited the city and neighboring lands. Especially he brought together masters in different crafts. From Damascus he sent different masters what could find. Various weavers, handymen on onions for firing and armorers, those someone process glass and clay, and these masters are considered as the best in the world. And from Turkey he brought arbalechik and other handymen what could find. Bricklayers, goldsmiths, how many they were, and so much they were, and so much they brought that it is possible to find any masters and handymen in the city. From the diary of the Castilian ambassador to the yard Timur. After Timur's death, power was seized by his grandson Khalil Sultan. 1405-1409. Whose unreasoned activity led to ruin of the state treasury. In 1409 he lost the power, and Samarkand passed to the younger son Timur, Shakrak, who appointed the deputy in Transoxiana the eldest son Mirza Ulugh Bek. During an era of bored Ulugh, Samarkand became one of the centers of world science. Here new higher educational institutions, madrasa and observatory were constructed. The best scientific minds of the Muslim East worked in the city. In 1417-1420 Ulugh Bek constructed madrasa, which became the first building in an architectural complex Registan in Samarkand. In this madrasa Ulugh Bek invited a large number of astronomers and mathematicians of the Islamic world. At Ulugh Bek Samarkand became one of the world centers of science of the Middle Ages. Here in the first half of the 15th century around Ulugh arose the whole school of sciences which united prominent astronomers and mathematicians, Ghiyaseddin of Jamshid Kasha, Kazazaid Rumi, Al-Kashch. In Samarkand at the time lived the historian Tuhafizi Abaib, who wrote great work on the history of Central Asia, the famous physician Mavlana Nafis, poets Sairashiddin Samarkandi, Sakaki, Lutfi, Badaka others. The astronomy was the main interest of Ulugh Bek in science. In 1428 the construction of Ulugh Observatory was completed. The wall quadrant, to which wasn't equal in the world, was her main tool. Such outstanding astronomers as Qazi Zaid Rumi, Trunks, Al-Kashch were Ulugh Bek's employees. In Ulugh Observatory by 1437 Gagansky, the catalogue of the star sky, in which 1018 stars were described, was made.
The main scientific work Ulagaka by Rytskiatsia, by Zt. Guragani studied, New Astronomical Tables of Guraganova.
The author finished this work in 1444 after 30 years of laborious work and astronomical observations. At Abu Said's government, new architectural monuments were constructed. In Samarkand he built the Mausoleum Aksaray, and his wife Ishraqan's mausoleum.
During this period in Samarkand and Mirza Ulagbek's madrasa, the great Persian Tajik poet A.
Dayemi studied. 3 years the outstanding Turkic poet Alisher Navoiy lived and studied in Samarkand. 1441–1501. In the work Meeting of the Elite, he tells about the famous scientists and poets from Samarkand. In the second half of the 15th century, the large role in political life of Samarkand was played by the leader of the award Naqshbandiya of Abay al-Hajakar. 1404–1489. The spiritual leader of Transoxiana considered one of the main tasks of an award of Naqshbandi protection for the poor and the disadvantaged, care of people of work. In 1460 Hajakar strove for cancellation of a tanga, the enslaving tax levied on the population even since the Mongolian domination. A noticeable mitigation of the Chagatai system of punishments existing in the state of Timuridov.
Also personal merit of Haji Akbar in the termination of the internal wars devastating the country and ruining the population as big.
All this positively affected development of crafts and agriculture in Transoxiana. The writer, the poet, the historian Zahir Heldines Muhammad Baber. 1483–1530. I was born in Andijan. Timur's descendant, Abu Said's grandson, fighting for the Samarkand throne. In the records, Baber name, left invaluable data on Samarkand of the end of the beginning of the 16th centuries, his architectural monuments and on the coins released Baber in Samarkand in 1511–1512, the waterfowl with the wings spread in flight was represented. It is possible to assume that the image of the flying bird perceived in the Middle Ages as the idea of light and prosperity was designed to give to restless time to Samarkand its hope. Baber described Samarkand of the end of the 15th century. Samarkand, the main town of the country, the whole country called Transoxiana. As any enemy didn't capture Samarkand by force and a victory, he is called the city stored by Allah. Samarkand became Muslim at the time of the Master Devout Othman. Samarkand is constructed by Iskandar. The people of Mughals and Turkic people speak Samarkand. Timurbek made Samarkand the capital. To Timurbek, any sovereign, as great as Timurbek, didn't do Samarkand by the capital. All residents of Samarkand, the people of pure belief, observing the law and pious. Since the most saint envoy Boshiego any country didn't leave so many imams of Islam, how many they left Transoxiana. In Samarkand and its suburbs Timurbek and Ulagbek Mirzi are a lot of buildings and gardens of times. In Samarkand, to an arch Timurbek erected the huge building in 4 tiers. It is called Kukshet. The best paper in the world comes out Samarkand. One more known Samarkand goods, a crimson velvet. He is taken out to all lands in the countries. In 1501 Samarkand was finally taken by Muhammad Shibani Hanum. From the Uzbek dynasty Shaybanidov, and the city was a part of the neogenic state Bukhara, which in the scientific environment is better known as the Bukhara Khanate. Samarkand, in which Shibani Khan was crowned, was chosen as the capital of this state. In Samarkand, Shibani Khan ordered to construct big madrasa, where he itself participated later in scientific and religious debates. The first dated news of madrasa of Shibani Khan belongs to 1504. It was completely destroyed in days of the Soviet power.
Muhammad Salih wrote that Shibani Khan Mahmud Sultan constructed in Samarkand madrasa for perpetuating of memory of the brother.
Fazl ibn Uzbekistan in Mikmanami Bukhara expresses the admiration of the majestic building of madrasa, his gilded shelter, high hudra, the spacious yard, and provides the verse eulogizing madrasa. And Zain wrote Haldain's Vasifi, which visited madrasa of Shibani Khan several years later, in the memoirs, that a veranda, the hall, and the madrasa yard spacious and magnificent. Shibani Khan brought together at the yard in Samarkand talented poets and scientists. Among them it is possible to mention such poets as Kamal Haldain's Binay, Muhammad Salih, and others, the poems which became authors devoted to life and activity of Shibani Khan. Repressions mined Sunnites in Iran and Khorasan from the Shah Ismail led to escape of intellectuals of Sunnites to Transoxiana. Among them there were the Persian historian, the poet and the thinker Fazl ibn Uzbekistan, the author of the work, book by the Bukhara guest, and the poet, the writer Zain Haldain's Vasifi. In Samarkand, the Sofa versus Shibani Khan in the Central Asian Turkic literary language was written. Shibani Khan wrote verses under the pseudonym Shibani.
In 1507 in Samarkand in Chagatai language it wrote the prosaic composition, Tu Risal Ye Marifand Shibani, which was devoted to his son Muhammad Timur.
The manuscript is stored in Istanbul. In 1508 in Samarkand his philosophical and religious work, Baker Street. Puli, in the Central Asian Turkic literary language which manuscript is in London, was written. In the period of board of a Shibanid of Kukunsi Hana, the uncle of Shibani Hana and the descendant Mirza Ulig Bek, in Samarkand active construction and considerable works on repair and improvement of the Samarkand madrasas were continued. On a personal order of the Khan in 1519 into Old Uzbek it was translated, Zofername, Sharif ad-Din Yazdi, and later and, to Daimi at-Tavari, Rashid of ad-Din. Kukunsi Khan loved poetry and wrote verses in Turkic language. In 1533 when Ubaydullah Khan became the fifth Khan of the Bukhara Khanate, he transferred the state capital to Bukhara.
Samarkand became the second most important city of the state and the capital of the Wilayat.
Urbexpo. Samarkand. Abdultafan, the son of the grandson Mirza Ulig Bek of Kukunsi Hana governing in Samarkand in 1540-1551 was considered as the expert on history of Transoxiana and a dynasty Shibanida. He patronized poets and scientists. He wrote verses under the literary pseudonym Hush.
At board of Abdultaf Hana in official documentation Uzbek was used, not only Persian but also
all Khans of the state Bukhara were traditionally crowned in Samarkand, in the Kaksare Palace. It is demolished by the authorities of the Russian Empire in the 1880th years, though the capital was already Bukhara. In the Kuksare palace there was Kuktish, a stone throne of times of Amir Temur. Tamerlan. The tradition proceeded to be crowned in Samarkand up to Muzaffar, the Emir Emirat Bukhara, the successor of the state Bukhara, in 1860-1885. During entry into structure of the Bukhara Khanate, Samarkand received a new round of revival. The city attracted scientists and architects from every quarter of the state and also from neighboring states. In 1602 Tanks Muhammad Khan, who chose by the residents Samarkand, defended independence of the Bukhara Khanate, having inflicted defeat over troops of the Saffadisti Shah Abbas in fight at Bak. Despite the short board, he undertook administrative, tax and military reforms in the country that contributed to her further development. During Bod Ashtar Khanadav in the Bukhara Khanate in 1599-1756 in Samarkand nowadays remained architectural monuments were constructed. At board of an Ashtar Khanadav Imam Kuli Hana, 1611-1642. In Samarkand the known architectural masterpieces were constructed. Also the ensemble Abdi Baran was constructed of nowadays remained monuments of Samarkand during this period. In 1621 in Samarkand it was rewritten, Sophaname, Sharaf ad-Din Yosti, and it is illustrated by magnificent miniatures. In 1612-1656 Hokamam of Samarkand were Yulantash Bakadur and Nader Muhammad Divanbaji, who built, for example, the Cathedral Mosque, Tilyakari's Madrasa and Madrasa Shurdar. Thus, there was a Registan ensemble, the present hallmark of the city. During an era Ashtar Khanadav visited Samarkand Babarkan Mashrab. 1657-1711. The classic, the Uzbek literatures, the poet and the thinker, the follower of a Sufi current a tariqa and the dervish of the Sufi award Naqshbandiyaf.
In 1740 Samarkand was attacked by the Iranian Shah Nader Shah in a final part of the military campaign to Central Asia in 1737-1740. On a legend after this army Nader Shah left the city, and to Mashhad, to Khorasan, were taken out a jade gravestone of Tamerlan. According to the legend, after a bad dream Nader Shah during return to Khorasan, when I dreamed him alarmed spirit of Tamerlan and his country captured disasters. Strong earthquakes, both the subsequent hungers and epidemic of cholera and plague, and also one by one occurred attempts at him, including from his eldest son. Nader Shah disposed to return immediately stolen jade gravestone of Tamerlan to Samarkand and to put on the former place in the mausoleum Garamir. Because of civil strifes, an economic crisis and attack of northern nomads, Samarkand couldn't recover several decades. Revival of the city began at government of the founder of the Uzbek dynasty of Manguk Muhammad Rakimbia, 1756-1758, who became famous for the strong-willed qualities and military art. Muhammad Rakimbi made some attempts to revive Samarkand. Serious efforts on restoration of the city were made by the Emir Shakmurat, 1785-1800. At him in Samarkand in 1784-1785 the trade dome of Chorsu was constructed. For revival of a Shelkokachestva in the 1780th years to the city the Massachusetts of Iranian Shiites from Merv was moved. Shakmurad made campaigns on Urtyub, Hodhent, Havaz, Zaman, Hols and moved a part of their population to Samarkand and founded 24 certain quarters.
User. With mosques there. At the Amir Nasrullah in Samarkand there was a quarter of Makaliyai Shark, or Makaliyai Yakidian, where the Bukhara Jews lodged. I directed quarter. Head. Appointed society. Quarter had the public center, a bath, a synagogue, tea house, craft workshops. Namely, dyers, shoemakers, weavers. A small bazarchik, initial school heater.
In 1843 quarter received the official status as the Amir Nasrullah sold to the Bukhara Jews the land where they formed the quarter.
In the 1840th years in the Samarkand Madrasa of Sher are the famous Tatar educator of the Shahab Marzanis Heldain studied.
On May 2, 1868 Samarkand was conquered by the Russian troops under the leadership of the General Kaufman and annexed to the Russian Empire.
Samarkand became the center of the Zarafshansky district, transformed in 1887 to the Samarkand region.
The same year the garrison of Samarkand under command of the Major General and Baron Friedrich von Stempel reflected attempt of Samarkandids to overthrow the Russian power. In 1888 the Zakaspisky Railroad, which was continued on the east, subsequently was brought to the station of the city and I began to be called Samarkand and Dijon. Subsequently, after an abjanina of two roads, the average and Asian Railroad was formed.
Samarkand was divided into so-called native. The local population means an European, Russian, of a part. In 1892 10115 inhabitants of different nationality and religion lived in the Russian part of Samarkand. Number Orthodox Christians 7446 people. And Sunni Muslims 1054 persons prevailed. Also 68 Catholics, 75 Protestants, 485 Jews, 416 so-called dissenters and 71 persons professing the Armenian Gregorian belief lived in the city. For all these new inhabitants, churches, meeting houses and temples were under construction.
In the new city, the first hotels, restaurants, taverns of the European sample, the first retail network opened.
There were a mail service and telegraph. Hospitals and medical aid stations were small and appeared much later, at the beginning of the 20th century. In the city, buildings of the European type were built for banks, drugstores and other organizations.
At the beginning of the 20th century, large figures of the reformist movement in Turkestan, Jadida Hadhi Munshi Kraleyev and Mahmud of Haj Bakbudi, were natives of Samarkand.
Top of literary skill of Bakbudi is the drama in Uzbek Padarkash, Patricide, which appeared in Samarkand in 1911. In 1913 Bakbudi began issue of the Samarkand newspaper in the Uzbek and Tajik languages.
In 1917 he was elected in the Constituent Assembly from the Samarkand constituency according to list No.
2. The Muslim organizations of the Samarkand region. After the October Revolution the city was a part Turkestan Yasir. In 1925-1930 Samarkand was the capital of the Uzbek Sur. In it the government of Uzbekistan led by Fazilo Hadhayev was placed. During this period on projects of the German architects the Republican Hospital and the main building of the university were constructed. In the Samarkand University on an all-union competition, teachers from different higher education institutions of the Soviet Union were recruited. In 1927 in Samarkand, the Uzbek Teacher Training College, the first secular highest educational institution, which in 1930 was renamed into the Uzbek State Pedagogical Academy, in 1933, in the Uzbek State University, and in 1961, in the Samarkand State University, to which the name of the greatest medieval Central Asian poet, philosopher and statesman Alisher Navoiy was appropriated, was formed.
In the city, other higher educational institutions of scale of all Soviet Central Asia were also formed.
Samarkand State Medical Institute, Samarkand Cooperative Institute, Samarkand State Teacher Training College of Sadruddin Aini, Samarkand State Architectural and Construction Institute, Samarkand Agricultural Institute, Samarkand Highest Military Automobile Command and Engineering College, and others. In 1930, Samarkand lost the status of the capital and remained only the center of the Samarkand region, and the city of Tashkent became the capital of the Republic of Uzbekistan. During World War II, from October 1941 to 1944, in the city there were an artillery academy evacuated from Moscow and the numerous industrial enterprises from combat zones. In the Soviet years, in the city, tourism, both internal and foreign, began to develop actively.
Most of foreign tourists came to Samarkand and other cities of the Soviet Uzbekistan, generally from the countries of the Warsaw Pact and India. Also these years in the city the new plants and the enterprises were constructed, thanks to what Samarkand became one of the large centers of the Central Asian Economic Region of the USSR.
The Memorial Museum of Sadruddin Aini is founded on May 19, 1967, according to the resolution of the government of Uzbekistan of June 16, 1964. Heads of Uzbekistan and Tajikistan and also the public of Samarkand took part in opening. At the initiative of the academician of the Uzbek Sir 1. Muminav, and with assistance of Shens Rashidov, in 1970 the 2500th anniversary of Samarkand was widely celebrated. In this regard, the monument to Mirza Ulugh was open, the Museum of History of Samarkand is founded, a 2-volume story of Samarkand is prepared and published. In 1991, for the first time in Uzbekistan, the Samarkand non-state television was created. Samarkand's Firdevs Abdukalikov became the initiator of the project and the leader among adherents. After the collapse of the USSR in 1991, Samarkand became the administrative center of the Samarkand region. Wilayat of already independent Republic of Uzbekistan. In the first years of independence, big development was gained by the Samarkand television, which since 1996 gained the international recognition. On the air conducted exclusive interviews with heads of states, senators of the countries, the leading foreign journalists. Employees of Saint Seat had an opportunity to leave in business trips not only to regions, but also out of borders of the Republic. Creative film crews shot documentaries about Russia, France, the USA, Syria, Pakistan, India, etc. Saint Seat created a cycle of documentaries to Amir Timur, Mirza Ulugh's anniversary. In 1994, under the decree of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan Islam Karimov, the Samarkand State Institute of Foreign Languages was created. It is one of the largest institutes of Uzbekistan and Central Asia on a learning of foreign languages. Now the institute trains highly skilled foreign philologists of experts, including guide interpreters for the higher and secondary vocational education and also to tourism infrastructures.
In 1996, at the initiative of the President Islam Karimov, in honor of the celebration of the 660th anniversary since the birth of Timur in Samarkand, a monument was established. In 2007-2011, the project of basic researches studying in Uzbekistan and abroad written monuments of an era Timuridov, within which the materials and data concerning the manuscripts of an era of Amir Timur and Timuridov which are stored in other countries were collected, was executed. At the initiative of Islam Karimov in 1997-1998 on an ancient mazar of the famous Islamic religious figure Imam Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ismail of Labanatopers in commemoration of the 1225th anniversary from the date of his birth according to the lunar calendar, the memorial complex of the Aynan Adukari was constructed. He represents a complex of constructions of memorial, cult and spiritual and educational appointment in the Kishlak Hartang of Pyriksky district of the Samarkand region of Uzbekistan.
The tomb of the Imam of Labanatopers is one of the most esteemed Islam shrines in the Islamic world. At the initiative of 1. Karimov in 2000 in Uzbekistan, the 1130 anniversary since the birth of the Imam Abu Mansur al-Maturidi was widely celebrated. The edition of his works, holding the international conference and opening of a memorial complex on his grave in Samarkand, was dated for this date. Monuments Persian Tajik to the poet Abu Abdullah Rudaki, the poet Alisher Navai, the commander and the governor Amir Temuru, to the scientist and governor Mirza Ulugh built.
After the death of the President of Uzbekistan Islam Karimov, he was buried in Samarkand where he also was born.
Also in 2017 in the city, the monument to Karimov, and in the 80th day of his birth, is open on January 30, 2018, at the Mosque Hazrat Hais. The mausoleum was open. Climate of Samarkand, subtropical midland, with accurately expressed seasonality. The climatic winter. The period with an average daily temperature below 0 C. Is absent, however. Separate winter days happen from second decade of November to the second decade of March. In calendar winter, the periods of frosts. With nighttime temperature up to 12 C, it is rare, 220 C. Can be noted short. 3-7 days. At the same time, all winter thaw wind temperature with are frequent. 5 C rise up to +6 C and above, sometimes reaching values in +12. +15 C. Transitional seasons are rather short.
Often almost summer temperatures are registered in the middle and the end of March and April.
The summer. The period with daytime temperature above +20 C and average daily above +15 C. Lasts from second decade of April to the second decade of October. In June and July, daytime temperature usually exceeds a 40-degree mark. On average, 20-40 days for a summer season. The population of Samarkand, as of October 1, 2021 was 559.4 thousand inhabitants. About 1 million people live in the Samarkand agglomeration. The main part of the population is made by Uzbeks and Tajiks. From ethnic minorities, the Russian and Central Asian Iranians, Persians prevail. Also a large number of representatives of Armenians, Tatars, Koreans, Azerbaijanians, Ukrainians, Central Asian Jews, Poles, Germans, Central Asian Arabs, Central Asian Roma lives in the city. In religious structure, Islam of Sunni sense of Hanafitski madhab, which is the main religion for Uzbeks, Tajiks and the Central Asian Arabs, prevails. The Shiite madhab of Islam is widespread in the basic among the Central Asian Iranians, Azerbaijanians and a part of Tajiks. From the directions of Christianity, Orthodoxy, which is the main religion for the Russians living here, Ukrainians and Belarusians, is generally widespread. There is one Orthodox cathedral of the prelate Alexei Moskovsky and two Orthodox churches. The Church of the Intercession of the Most Holy Mother of God and St. George is the Victorious' temple. The second in prevalence Christian religion in the city is the Armenian Apostolic Church, which is widespread among Armenians of the city. There is the Armenian Church Serb-Astvatsan. Catholicism, which is the main for Poles and Germans of Samarkand, remains the third in prevalence Christian religion in the city. There is a Catholic Church of St. John the Baptist. The Judaism is widespread among the Central Asian Jews. According to statistical data, in 1887-1888 in the Samarkand county where the city of Samarkand entered, Uzbeks made 39562 people of inhabitants. That is 73% of the population. Other inhabitants were presented by Tajiks, Russians, Arabs, Iranians and others. Exactly 10 years later, according to a population census of the Russian Empire of 1897, 55128 people lived in Samarkand.
Distribution of the population on the native language was the following.
Tajik -36845, Russian, Ukrainian and Belarusian -8393, Uzbek. One of dialects of modern Uzbek. -5506, Jewish Tajik -1169, Polish -1072, Iranian. Persian -866, German -330, Sartskia. One of dialects of modern Uzbek. -287. 342,197 people lived in the Samarkand county in general, where also the city of Samarkand entered in 1897. Distribution of the population on the native language was the following. Uzbek -200,672, Tajik -12342, Slavic. Including members of the party Great Russia, Malaros and Belarusians. -9340, Kashgar. An Uyghur dialect. -3421 persons.
This statistics shows that in the city Tajik prevailed, and in the neighborhood of Samarkand prevailing was Uzbek.
In December 2021, in connection with the presentation to the President of Uzbekistan Shams
Mirziyoyev of the projects implemented in the Samarkand region, the press service of the President published material in which it was told.
As is well known, in the next year's transformation of Samarkand into the million-plus city is expected. For this purpose, the structure of the city will include certain territories of the neighboring areas. Pastogomsky district is adjacent to the city from the west.
365.3 thousand inhabitants for October 1, 2021.
The most part of external border of the territory which is under administrative supervision of the city is adjacent to the Samarkand district. 260.1 thousand shit. From the north Akhtarinsky district adjoins to the city. 164.2 thousand shit. and Jambaysky district, 179.3 thousand shit. Besides, in close proximity to the city of Samarkand, separated from it by a strip of the building relating to the Samarkand district, with AP 2.3 km Teleksky district is located, 209.1 thousand shit. Expansion of the territory of Samarkand will happen at the expense of the Samarkand, Pastergomsky, Teleksky and Akhtarinsky districts. The square of the city will be increased from modern 124 km up to 305 km. The administrative center of area will be transferred to the settlement of Julabad, nowadays administrative center of the Samarkand district. It is supposed that at the first stage of implementation of the master plan of development of the city, 29 km will be transferred to its structure.
Samarkand district, 11 km.
Akhtarinsky district, 13 km. Pastergomsky district and 0.5 km. Teleksky district. At the beginning of 2022, the draft resolution of the Senatoly Majlisa about change of the existing administrative territorial borders of Akhtarinsky, Pastergomsky, Samarkand, Teleksky districts and about formation of Krasuvsky, Sogdiana, Siobsky, Bagasamolsky, Mirakandsky districts in the territory of the city of the Samarkand region and abolition of the Samarkand district, was published. According to administrative territorial borders of Akhtarinsky, Pastergomsky, Samarkand, Teleksky districts and the city of the Samarkand region are subject to change.
The structure of the city of Samarkand will include 1654 hectares of Akhtarinsky district, 12975 hectares of the Samarkand district, 1245 hectares of Pastergomsky district, 1269 hectares of Teleksky area.
528 hectares of city lands of Samarkand, 1370 hectares of the Samarkand district will be transferred to structure of Pastergomsky district. And 29283 hectares of lands of the Samarkand district will be transferred to Teleksky district.
As a result of these transformations, the Samarkand district will be abolished as a separate administrative and territorial unit.
The total area of the city of Samarkand will be 28415 hectares. The city will be divided into 5 administrative regions. Krasuvsky, 8250 hectares. Sogdiana, 3741 hectares. Siobsky, 4846 hectares. Bagasamolsky, 3246 hectares. Mirakandsky, 8333 hectares. The settlement of Julabad, Array of Neogenic Marakandsky district will become the administrative center of the Samarkand region.
The total area of the territory which is administratively subordinated to the city of Samarkand is 120 km.
The territory subordinated to the city of Samarkand is divided into 219.
The city of Samarkand and also 3 urban-type settlements are its part actually.
Kimyogarlar. To the west from the city in the territory of the Pastergomsky administrative region. Farkad. To the northeast from the city adjacently with his main territory. And Hishra. To the southwest from the city in the territory of the Samarkand administrative region. The territory of the city is surrounded with the territory of the Samarkand district, a part which the city isn't, and has the status of the city of regional submission and the administrative center of the Samarkand region. Now the city of Samarkand isn't divided into administrative regions.
For the first time, division of the city into administrative units was undertaken in 1939.
On February 10 that year, the territory of the city of Samarkand was divided into 3 administrative regions: Iranian, Railway and Siapsky.
Through short time, the Iranian area was renamed into the Bogishmalsky area.
It occupied the central part of the city, Zheleznodorozhny district, western, and Siapsky district, east, where there is historic center of Samarkand. In the 1950th years, all these areas were abolished. In 1976, Bogishmalsky, Railway, and Siapsky areas were formed anew. In the 1990s, Zheleznodorozhny district was renamed into Temiryoulsky district. On January 1, 2004, all 3 districts of the city were again abolished. In 2021, the president of Uzbekistan said that he in Samarkand step by step will 5 administrative regions, Sogdian, Siob, Bogishamel, Samarkand and Khorasan are created. At the first stage, it is planned to create 2-3 areas. Samarkand, one of the largest industrial and economic centers of Uzbekistan. The leading industry, mechanical engineering. In the city, the Samarkand automobile plant, Samoto, making buses and trucks of the Isuzu brands, works. The automobile plant MAN Auto Uzbekistan, making trucks, special equipment and trailers of the MAN brand. There are plans for opening of automobile plant, Land Rover Uzbekistan, for release of SUVs of the Land Rover brand.
The easy construction, chemical, petrochemical, chemical and pharmaceutical and food industries are also developed.
The plants of the electronic equipment releasing resistors and integrated circuits and also electronic household appliances function.
The Samarkand Lifterstroitel plant works.
The plant of the Sino enterprise releasing household refrigerators. Cigarette factory Uzbat, on processing and packing of tobacco products. Samarkand Chai factory on processing and packing of tea products.
The Samarkand winery, which is one of the oldest and largest wineries not only Uzbekistan but also Central Asia.
Samarkand spirits plant. The Agro Bravo enterprise, producing dairy products. Samarkand cotton mill and other enterprises and plants. In Samarkand also numerous private enterprises of small business work. Following the results of January-December 2014, it was made industrial output for the total amount of 1,974.3 billion bags. Tourism continues to be an important branch of economy of Samarkand. The city is one of the most visited tourist centers of Uzbekistan.
An income gained from tourism plays a large role in city economy.
From foreign tourists, the city, as well as Uzbekistan in general, is visited generally by guests from Spain, Italy, France, Great Britain, Germany, Belgium and other countries of the European Union. From Russia and other CIS countries. Japan, South Korea, China and Turkey. Transport. In a northern part of the city, the international airport, Samarkand, which is one of the largest in Uzbekistan, is located.
The airport of Samarkand is connected by air traffic with the largest airport of Uzbekistan, the international airport, Tashkent, of Islam Karimov, and also to some other regional airports of the country. From the foreign cities, the airport of Samarkand is connected with the airports of Russia in particular.
As of January 2019, there was air traffic with Moscow, Vnukovo, Domodedovo, Sheremetyevo, Street, Petersburg, Yekaterinburg and Kazan. The international airport, Samarkand, also has air traffic with the Turkish Istanbul, Ataturk, and also with the Tajik Dushanbe.
Railway transport reached Samarkand in 1888 as a result of construction of the Zakaspersky Railroad in 1880-1891 by railway troops of the Russian Empire in the territory of modern Turkmenistan and the central part of Uzbekistan.
This railroad began from the city of Krasnovodsk, nowadays Turkmenbashi, on the bank of the Caspian Sea, and came to an end in Samarkand. The Samarkand station was final on the Zakaspersky Railroad. The first station, Samarkand, was opened in May 1888.
Further, after 1888, construction of the Samarkand and Dijon Railroad opened for the movement since 1899 began.
Ossetuvskaya, Chernyevo, and Dijon -346 versts, and Surovo, Korchakovo, Fedchenko, Zelensk, and Dijon -240 versts.
Later, owing to construction of the railroad in other places of Central Asia, the Zakaspersky Railroad and the Samarkand and Dijon Railroad, after association, received the name the Central Asian Railroad.
In the Soviet years of the Samarkand station, any new line wasn't attached, but at the same time it was one of the largest and major stations of the Uzbek Sur and the Soviet Central Asia. In the Orgyos from the Samarkand station towards Tashkent, the signature passenger train, Registan, which maximum speed is 160 km/h, was organized. In 2011, the first in Central Asia high-speed railroad Tashkent, Samarkand with the trains of Afrosiab, which maximum speed is 250 km/h, was open. In September 2015, this high-speed railroad is prolonged up to the city of Karshi, and in plans there is her continuation to Bukhara.
Through the railway station of the city of Samarkand pass not only internal railway routes, but also international.
From the international routes: Volgograd, Russia; Tashkent, Saratov, Russia; Tashkent, Almaty, Kazakhstan; Nukus. The station of the railway station is located in a northwest part of Samarkand. From November 1924 to 1930 in Samarkand the steam tram plied. In May 1947 in the city the Samarkand tram, which functioned till August 1973, was started. In 2016 the decision to resume the movement of trams was made. The first branch was opened on April 15, 2017, the second branch opened on March 21, 2018. Since 1957 in Samarkand the trolleybus system, which worked till 2005, also worked. Now in Samarkand, from public transport, the buses made at the Samarkand automobile plant, Gazelle -322,132 share taxis ply. Also the state and private taxi services function.
Mainly brands and the Daewoo Nexia, Daewoo Gentra, Daewoo Matiz, Chevrolet Lachetti, Chevrolet Cobalt, Chevrolet Epica models.
A color of the Samarkand taxi, yellow, as well as at the taxi of New York. Sport. Soccer, one of the most popular sports in Samarkand.
The most known and strongest football club of the city is Dynamo, founded in 1960 and acting in the Soviet years in the second league of the Championship of the USSR. In the season of 2018, Dynamo acted in Pro League of Uzbekistan, in the second and level division of the country. Long time this club was a permanent participant of the highest league, but in a season -2017 took off for league level below. The best achievements of Dynamo were the cup final of Uzbekistan -1999/2000, the fourth place in the highest league of 2000 and participation in the Cup of Owners of Cups of Asia in 2001. In the city there is also a football club, Sherder, which since a season -2018 acts in Pro League of Uzbekistan again.
One more Samarkand club, Spartak, participates in Football League of the Samarkand region. One of nowadays not existing clubs is Uzbekistan, which in seasons -2010-2014 acted in the second and first leagues of the Championship of Uzbekistan. In the city there are two large stadiums. Dynamo on 13800 viewers, and Olympia on 12500 viewers. Also small stadiums, Yoshlik and Lokomotiv function. In the city there is also a large number of other sporting venues. Sports Taper Complex. Sports Complex of the Samarkand College of the Olympic Reserve. Sports Water Center Delphin. Palace of Boxing. The big tennis court and small around him. Complex for water sports. On east outskirts of Samarkand there is a unique rowing channel which has only two analogues in the world. In Munich and Moscow, and on which not only local tournaments, but also rowing competitions and also on rowing on kayaks and a canoe of continental and world scales are held.
Annually from the middle of the 1990th in Samarkand the tennis tournament with an ATP Challenger Tour is held.
Besides, in the city there take place separate tournaments and competitions of the championships of Uzbekistan in different types of sport. In Samarkand there are numerous organizations of a scientific, pedagogical and cultural profile. In the city there are numerous architectural historical monuments entered in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List. In the Soviet years in Samarkand the Research Institute of a Karakulovodstvo, which was engaged in improvement of sheep of the Karakul breed, was created. At the initiative of academicians Ya. Yulia Bandai M. Mumanov on the occasion of 2500-year anniversary of Samarkand and the resolution of Council of Ministers of Uzbekistan of 1970. The resolution of Presidium of Academy of Sciences of the Uzbek Saudi Institute of Archaeology, to which in 1998 the name of the archaeologist, historian, academician Ya. G. Yulyab was appropriated, was created. In June 2019 at the initiative of the academician A. Askarov, the institute was planned to be transferred from Samarkand to Tashkent. Samarkand, one of the theatrical capitals of Uzbekistan. In the downtown, one of the largest and oldest theatres of Uzbekistan, the Samarkand Regional Theatre of Music and the Drama of Hamid Alamshan is located. In a new part of the city, the Samarkand State Russian Drama Theatre of A.P. Chekhov, one of the largest Russian theatres of Uzbekistan, is located. Also in the city there are the Samarkand Regional Puppet Theatre of a Jurarev and Theatre of a Historical Suit Laboma Morosi. TV, newspapers and magazines, except Uzbek, also air and are published also in Russian. The Russian-language newspaper Samarkandsky Vestnik is issued in Russian. A part of signs and announcements on city streets is made. Also in the city there is a Tadzakoysikny newspaper, Ovozy Samarkand, the city private TV channel Saint Seat and regional public TV channel Emirk Samarkand partially broadcast in Tajik. Samarkand is one of the largest education centers of Uzbekistan and Central Asia.
In 1994 in the city, one of the largest in Uzbekistan, a higher educational institution on a learning of foreign languages, the Samarkand State Institute of Foreign Languages was organized.
As of 2015, in the territory of the city 59 high comprehensive schools, more than 20 colleges and lyceums function. Also in the city numerous higher educational institutions are located. In Samarkand there is the largest university of the Samarkand region and the second largest, after the National University of Uzbekistan in Tashkent.
The university in Uzbekistan, which Uzbek Teacher Training College, was formed in 1927 under the name.
In 1930 he was renamed into the Uzbek State Pedagogical Academy, in 1933, into the Uzbek State University, and in 1961, into the Samarkand State University, to which the name of the greatest Sredneveki Central Asian poet, philosopher and statesman, Alisher Navoiy, was appropriated.
At the university there are 10 faculties.
Natural Sciences, Biological, Chemical and Geographical departments. Historical, Mechanico-Mathematical, Pedagogical, Professional Education, Social and Economic, Physical, Physical Culture, Uzbek Philology and Philological. Departments of the Tajik and Russian Philology.
In the Soviet years in the city, other higher educational institutions of scale of all Soviet Central Asia were also formed.
The Samarkand State Medical Institute, one of the largest medical schools of Uzbekistan, the Samarkand Institute of Economy and Service, the Samarkand branch of the Tashkent University of Information Technologies, the Samarkand State Institute of Foreign Languages, the Samarkand State Teacher Training College of Sadrid in Aini, the Samarkand State Architectural and Construction Institute, the Samarkand Agricultural Institute, the Samarkand Highest Military Automobile Command and Engineering College, and others. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.